Hello there, lovely people. It's Alex from Nintendo Life here, and I'm not alone. I'm joined by the wonderful Felix. He's here as well.
Hello.
And he's here because there's some good news, good Nintendo news, and it's, well, I suppose it is specific to the Switch too, but at the same time, presumably not. For the longest time now, it's been no secret that certainly the Switch 1 eShop, even though I know they're the same thing, but we're just shorthand, The Switch 1 eShop has an awful lot of games on there that frankly are not of great quality. Let's just put it that way. What a lot of people refer to.
Mildly. There's an ocean of games.
Yeah, it's a little bit much. What many people refer to as eSlop, which I think is quite fun. It's play on eShop, in case you hadn't anyway, in a report from IGN written by Rebecca Valentine, Nintendo appears to be changing their attitude towards this stuff and changing the guidelines on their, sort of submission portal, which is something that developers use, and indeed publishers, I'm sure, in order to get their games on the eShop. And they're changing their guidelines in Asia in order to seemingly combat this, which I don't think that's a bad thing at all.
No, not at all. It looks like they know it's an issue and they're actually trying to do something against it. Now, one of the things that that it said that they're putting a limit on bundles. Now I myself, I don't really know. I didn't know there was an exploit of bundles, but maybe you can enlighten me and the lovely viewers who don't know about what that means.
I'm going to do my best. So, to give you an example of a typical sort of like bundle, I don't think this is what Nintendo's targeting, but this is just one that people will be aware of. When an Ubisoft game comes out, there's always like a gold edition, and sometimes there's like multiple different editions. Street Fighter is an example where there are multiple different editions. Also things like the 2K games, like the sports games, like the WWE and, NBA. There's loads of different versions, sort of like 3 or 4, sometimes a few more. Well, there are some developers that take that to an extreme and will have, sometimes 10 bundles. I don't have any exact examples off the top of my head because I don't deal with that stuff. I don't look at the bad stuff. I look at the good stuff. But there have been reports of people, of developers putting out ludicrous numbers of bundles to try and I don't know what their end game is, but maybe to get multiple listings on the eShop to kind of spam that out. Nintendo is changing it so that now you can get a maximum of 5, and I do want to just make absolutely clear, this is from IGN speaking to third-party developers / publishers about Nintendo's changing policies. This isn't come out of nowhere, this is a proper report. So you can have 5 to begin with, which feels generous to me.
Yeah, there's still a lot, and from each year going onwards, you can have one more, it seems.
Yeah, so it's 5 at launch, and then when the game's a year old, you can have another one. And then when it's 2 years old, you can have another one.
I mean, I actually thought when we were saying bundles, it was stuff like, you can get, for example, the Ace Attorney bundle, where you can get, like, the Ace Attorney Trilogy and the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, like, together in one, and now also Apollo Justice, like, in one bundle. But the bundles you're describing is the different editions, which I've always found really weird. I'm not a fan of it myself. I mean, you can just get the normal bundle, so it isn't really hurting anyone, but like exploiting it like that, having, for example, 10 different listings of the same game, of course that sucks. Even having 5, I think 3 is the norm I see normally. There's like a standard, a gold, and a ultimate. I don't know what they call it precisely, but I've seen it with Sonic games. I think that's the one that springs to mind right now.
Yeah, a number of companies do this sort of thing, and I imagine that the bundles you described, they may even be affected as well. I don't know. This is all very much, because we don't have it directly from Nintendo. It's it's not going to be super like clear cut. But still some flipping good reporting, I will say, in a time right now. But yeah, basically, people will no longer be able to spam with any more than 5 until the game is a year old. And even then, I think I agree with you. I think 5's a lot.
But okay, So we have this news, but it's not the only thing. There's other changes there. Loads of other changes.
So much more.
Let's go over it.
Yeah, so another thing is that Nintendo basically reserves the right not to distribute any game, which I'm fairly certain they've had before, but this also encapsulates games that include sensitive content that is designed to exploit a particular topic for shock value. So, I don't want to go through any particular examples, but where, say, something happens in the news or something like that, and Nintendo, a company, just decides to sort of like take advantage of that in order to sort of like boost their appearance for a game that has been churned out really quickly. That's just an example of my interpretation. I don't know, precisely that that's what they mean, but I think that is completely reasonable.
Yeah, no, definitely. It also looks like there's stuff like not just real world issues, but also just topics that are just not okay.
Yeah.
We've seen loads of the, puzzle games with certain women on them.
Yeah.
And there's actually, in Asia, there's a new, guideline which blocks this word. And now when you search for this game, it doesn't come up anymore.
Yeah.
So now it's really hard to find those type of games. They're kind of hiding them, which I think is really nice that I don't have to look at that in my eShop. If only they could also block the word AAA clock, that would be amazing.
Yeah, that'd be good, wouldn't it? Yeah, so not to put too fine a point on it, the game it's a series of games called Hentai Girls, and that is now being renamed to Kawaii Girls, which, frankly, I don't even know how the original made it through to a Nintendo platform in the first place. But, it is what it is. Steps are now being taken because, it's not appropriate to have that word plastered all over the eShop, I feel.
No.
Sort of some people may feel differently, but at the end of the day, children have access to the eShop and, they're going to be seeing this stuff. And I just don't think that's good. So I'm pleased that, and this hasn't taken effect in the West yet. Do want to make that clear. This is only Asia. So if some people may already have gone to the comments and gone, actually, it's already available. It's still available under that name, but this is only in Asia. I would be surprised if this didn't take effect in other regions as well, but we'll have to wait and see. There's also a few other sort of minor things. Still good, don't get me wrong, but Nintendo is now saying that you can't have misleading descriptions, which...
That's right.
I do sort of feel like, should that not have been the case all along? But,
there is games like Doki Doki, which is like trying to be something and then it's not, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But in 99% of the time, you want the descriptions and everything to fall in line with what the game is. You don't want to mislead people. That's clickbait, or in this instance, what do we call it? Buy bait. You just buy the games. I don't know. You don't just click. And not only that, when you have a description, you can't just change it anymore.
Yeah.
You have to actually request to Nintendo, hey, I need to change it. And you have to have a good reason why you are changing it.
And it's the same with the title as well. You can't change the title of a game without good reason. Again, I feel like personally this should have been in place for a long time.
Ago.
I know. But, let's, credit where credit's due. Better late than never, I suppose. Admittedly, I imagine it wasn't in place because Nintendo didn't know what a success the Switch would be and didn't anticipate this influx of complete and utter rubbish flooding the eShop. So, fair play to them. I say fair play to them. Again, this should have been implemented, but again, better late than never, I would say.
I do think we have to, I don't know, celebrate. But it is nice when good things happen. Even though they happen late, I think we should still, it's nice that we can talk about them and stuff. And I will say my experience with the eShop, I did notice that it just felt like there was a lot more games that I felt like were actually quality games that were getting suggested to me, instead of just being, oh my god, the eShop on the Switch. It was just like, it was like finding a needle in a haystack when you finally found a proper game.
Yeah, and there are other, sort of digital storefronts that have exactly the same issue. Steam is filled with steaming piles, should we say? And, but that, that's not new. It's not news by any means, but it's nice to see that Nintendo is taking a step, because I remember actually the opposite argument back in like the Wii and Wii U days. I say Wii days, I wasn't really in the industry. Well, I wasn't in the industry then, but certainly the Wii U days, people believed that Nintendo was too strict with what games they allowed on. And so it's almost like they went completely back on that with the Switch, and now they're going back the other way with the Switch too. But I think there's a medium, there's a balance to be had here.
Yeah. Definitely. There's a good middle ground, and it looks like they're slowly getting there. I mean, time will tell how it is. There's just so many games coming out that it's also hard. I mean, every year it feels like there's more and more games coming out. What was it? 10,000 games on the Switch one that they had to check compatibility on.
Something
10,000
like that, yeah.
games. That's absolutely insane. How many games do you get through in a lifetime? Maybe, I don't know. Depends on the person.
Well,
I really have no idea.
I would hazard a guess to say not 10,000. What's nice as well is that IGN, the developers that they spoke to, broadly say that this is a good thing. And that's nice to see, because obviously developers are the ones who make the games, and it's nice to see that they agree that this is a good thing.
Of course, yeah. It's not all of them. There was one developer which... they were a bit concerned about, I can quote what the developer said. They said, I would say personally, I would be curious to see how Nintendo will handle games that deal with serious topics, or if they will try to lean away from having more mature games that deal with such subjects, even when handled carefully or in a positive support of such group. For example, supporting gender expression, ethnicity, religion, and etc. And I do think that's a good point to bring up, because, like we said, there's a good middle ground, right? You don't want to have that you can't have games that deal with mature content, stuff like that, but you also don't want games that exploit it. So I hope Nintendo can find the right way to figure out how they can have their slice of the pie and eat it.
Yeah, I think it's definitely sort of a reasonable caution. I wouldn't go so far as to say concern, because we haven't necessarily seen it in action recently. And the fact that we've just had, I know it's, AAA game and stuff like that, but we've just had Cyberpunk 2077 released on Switch 2 as a launch title.
That's a very good point.
Yeah, I don't think Nintendo's shying away. It should be said that it's a AAA game, and Nintendo may look on them more favorably. We don't know. But it's...
They probably will.
Well, to a degree. But, it's feature complete. You can still customize your genitals in Cyberpunk on Switch, which I wouldn't expect that to have been gone, but it's still like, okay, yep, it's still here. It's one of the first things I checked. But yeah, there are lots of games that deal with serious topics, and it would be a shame if they were stifled. Having said that, again, we don't know that Nintendo will stifle such games. We're just going to have to wait and see. And I would like to think that they will. Again, there's a big difference between a game that, tackles topics and games that artificially or purely for shock value exploit or even celebrate. For example, we wouldn't want a game celebrating something like the rise of German forces in 1930s, should we say. Whereas something like Wolfenstein doesn't celebrate it, it tackles it. Two very different, ways of looking at it.
No, definitely. I think you put it perfectly, Alex. I have nothing to add to that.
What can I say? I'm a perfect boy. But what do you think? Do you think I'm a perfect boy, or do you have an opinion about the topic we discussed? Let us know with a comment down below. But for now, thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, then why don't you check the regulations around that subscribe button? They're unchanged. Click it, and be sure to check out NintendoLife.com for all sorts of lovely Nintendo-related content. Thank you again for watching. Bye-bye.